Hi everybody. Hi. Hello. It's good to see you all. Good to see you.
Hi.
Hello.
Hi. It's fantastic. Our first Tuesday meeting.
I do have a few people that were already kind of queued up to chat. So we're going to start actually with Rita, who has been patiently waiting for a couple of weeks for her opportunity to chat. Let's see. I thought I saw her come in here.
Here I am.
There she is. Hi,
Hey,
Rita.
Rita.
Hi.
Hi.
Hi, Mel. How are you?
Hi.
How's it? How's it going?
Very good indeed. Thank you. Really good.
Good to hear it.
I've had a fairly, actually, to be honest, I've had actually a kind of traumatic couple of days. Last week I told people that a tree fell on my house.
Right. I remember.
Yeah, for those of you who weren't here, the tree fell on my house last week, which is kind of hectic, but manageable. And then yesterday, I'm going to tell you, but I'm telling everybody, that I went out for a walk in the morning with my wife and our little dog. We have a little wiener dog, a little Dachshund, miniature Dachshund. And we walked down the road to a house that my wife covets. You know, there's always a house that you covet. She says, these guys are pretty old. We'll get this house in 3 years. And that's not true, but it was kind of like that. It's like we'll just offer them somewhere else, somewhere with just one story. They won't want to live in this big old house. It's actually not that big, but it's right at the end of a cul-de-sac. And she just loves the fact that we are 320 surrounded by woods and just one house as a neighbor. That's it, which she knows I like because I'm a privacy junkie. So we walked maybe 10 minutes down the road, eyeing up everybody's houses, bitching about them or admiring them in the way you do. And we were walking back and we were just getting back to our house when this mid-size white and brown dog ran out. And it's our neighbor's dog, but it ran out and it often charges me. So I'm kind of used to it. And our little dog, Sophia, ran to meet it. Well, as far as she could, she was on a leash. And at that very moment, that dog tried to kill Sophia. She bit her, she shook her around, and I know, literally in 3 seconds, I noticed that this dog was about to kill our dog. And so we had an almighty struggle and got Sophia out of her mouth. And I threw Sophia to my wife. And the guy who is our neighbor ran out and was like, oh my God, but my wife, obviously everyone was very traumatized. And so hi everybody. Hi.
Hi.
Hello. It's good to see the dog opened up. And so we jumped in the car. We had no idea where the vet was because we've only just moved here. So we charged down the road to where I remember seeing a vet. They turned us away, and only because they didn't have the equipment to deal with this kind of trauma, this emergency. And so they told us to go to another place half an hour away. Now, while we were on our way there, I noticed my wife was bleeding by the mouth. And so it turns out that she'd split her lip almost from her nose down to her mouth, obviously to her mouth. And this emergency hospital took our dog, but then said, I said, we have to go and get you to another hospital. So we went to 2 different emergency wards. My wife spent 4 hours, had plastic surgery, stitches all the way in and out of her mouth to sew her whole lip back. And it was a total nightmare. Yesterday was a crummy day, but we got through it. And our dog survived.
Good.
And is looking pretty poorly, as you'd expect. But she took her first 4 steps on the grass today, like a kind of little teeny spider. And I think everything's going to be fine. But that's how I am. That's, if you want to know how I am, that actually happened to me yesterday. So I'm kind of a little, whew.
Yeah.
How about you?
Well, wait a second. How was your neighbor about all of this?
Very, just horrified, mortified, apologetic beyond belief. And my wife is like, you know, there is no way that we're going to do anything official about this,
Right.
because there's already one dog suffered, and maybe 2 dogs will suffer if we do, because it crossed the line when my wife got injured in that accident. It becomes a different deal, and you have to do police reports. So she didn't tell anybody. Very noble of her. And she refused to do anything except for ask for compensation for the vet surgery, which, by the way, if anyone had animals, emergency veterinary surgery, astronomical.
Yes.
£1,500 just to say dollars, just to say hello, you know.
Yeah.
So they got us. But you know what? We'd have paid 15 times that, I guess.
Yeah. Yeah. I know how you feel. I know how you feel. It's terrible. We have a problem here with coyotes going after little dogs.
Absolutely.
So, well, actually, you're in Massachusetts, you know.
I lived in LA for 10 years, and those guys screamed all night. Do you hear them screaming as like a group, like a posse?
We don't usually have groups of them, but yeah.
Well, they would roam the LA hills and just yell and shout at each other. And yes, they took all the local cats and the local dogs if they were small enough. No, this was just the dog across the road. And we did not see it coming. It just, thank God we could react within, 3 seconds after we got out of the shock of what is this happening. But Sophia's noise woke us up. This is our dog's name. It's like, bing, into action. Whew.
Yes.
So whereabouts do you live?
I'm in Boston, Roxbury, Massachusetts.
Oh, okay. Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah.
We're locals.
Yes, we are local. Yeah.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
And how are you? How are you doing? What's going on?
This is, of course, all quite overwhelming. I have it, I think, a lot easier than most people. I'm retired. That makes things a lot easier, that there was no expectation that I would get up and go to work. So I'm not missing quite the way other people are.
Absolutely.
And I also am a volunteer at the zoo. That when you talk about veterinary stuff, we know all these vets. So they're not allowing us near the animals right now. So,
you must miss that.
Very sad. I miss my animals very much.
What do you do at the zoo?
I'm an animal care, a volunteer zookeeper.
So what does that entail? There are probably not many zookeepers on today.
Well, when you're a volunteer, you do what you're told to do. So you're permanent low man on the totem pole. So that means cleaning, feeding, monitoring, training the animals. I work in the tropical forest, which is a section of the zoo. So I work largely with gorillas, small primates, bats, some hoof stock.
Wow. Yeah. That must be just fascinating. I'm so jealous.
Oh, you should be. It's wonderful.
You love animals. So that would be such a cool thing to do.
Well, when you're in Boston, I'll give you behind the scenes or something.
Okay, that
Bring me up.
Of course, there'd be some horrific story. Actor gets eaten by very small monkey.
It would be a small monkey. The gorillas are cool. They don't hurt anybody. It is the small monkeys you've got to watch out for. Yes. They will eat your face. But it's hard. I miss my animals, and my animals are what kind of keep me calm in the difficult times. So it's not easy, but like I said, I think I have it so much easier than most of the people in this community.
That's very gracious of you. How often did you do that? How often did you do to volunteer a week?
Every weekend.
Oh,
every weekend, okay. Yes. Well, you need to, if you're going to work with the animals, you have to have a certain amount of consistency. So I've done this now for 27 years. So they know me, and we have relationships and all of that. So, it's.
And you're still the lowest on the totem pole.
Permanent low person on the totem pole. You are a volunteer. You will never get any higher. The lowest new zookeeper, the lowest intern still outranks you.
And how long have you been in the tropical department? Have you been in other? Do you shift around?
I've worked in other areas of the zoo, but right now, actually for the last 15 years or so, I've been in the tropical forest. We find that when you get to know an area and the animals in that area, well, you do a better job. And
sure. And they get to trust you. So
well, sort of. Some animals trust you, some animals don't.
I've only been to kind of, there's a wonderful place in England called Woburn Abbey, which I used to go to all the time. And you would drive around, it's sort of safari style. Mm-hmm. And you would drive past the lions and drive past the zebra and all that kind of stuff. And it was pretty great. I mean, it was pretty exciting because they had huge amounts of land. So
yes. Yeah.
I don't remember animals being in a cage except for some of the smaller monkeys.
Mm-hmm.
But they had kind of ropes from cage to cage, and they were in a huge net, sort of the size of a football field. They were really well looked after, but I always wondered what happens to them when it's just too cold. I mean, some of these animals you're in a tropical zoo, and this part of the world can hit minus 15
easily,
no problem. So what happens to those animals during that time? Because do they just go into a box?
Well, no. Some of the animals that really can't take the cold, they're in the building. They're in the tropical forest. Right. But we have a lot of animals that are outside. We have lions, tigers that are outside. They adapt very well to the cold. Right. The lion exhibit has a big heated rock in the middle of it. So quite often in the wintertime, you'll see piles of snow and then little lion footprints. And then there they are on the rock, which is always fun. Some animals adapt. Zebras do really well in the snow. Camels, a lot of our animals, they don't go to Florida for the vacation. They stay with us. Yeah. They stay with us. And we always get, when it's bitter cold, we always get that news reporter who thinks it's a great idea to come to the zoo and see what's happening to the animals in the winter. So,
okay. Yeah, see how you're mistreating them perhaps.
Yes, exactly. Exactly.
You get lots of visitors?
We do. We're not a huge urban zoo, but we're smack in the middle of the city. So we get a lot of people. You know, we get probably probably close to 750,000 people in a year. So we have a lot of members. So people who come and bring their kids every week. You know. I've watched a lot of kids grow up, go to college, come back, bring their kids.
Absolutely.
So that's a lot of fun.
And of course, a lot of these animals have grown up in this zoo.
Almost all of them.
We haven't known any other place.
Right. Well, most, I can't think of any that are wild caught because, well, they haven't taken gorillas out of the wild since the 1970s, at least not legally. But no, most of the animals were born and bred in captivity. So
well, I'm a big fan because I think that it gets people to understand animals and empathize and sympathize.
Yeah.
And hopefully one day be warriors to look after them,
Well, that's our goal, to inspire people to protect animals. But it's going to be interesting what happens with this coronavirus and how we'll be able to have zoos. Because zoos are crowds, obviously. Yeah. And coronaviruses are zoonotic diseases. Right. So, the issue becomes, how do we have zoos? How do we have all these people? How do we have all these animals? I guess, this, at some point we'll have to figure something else out. But I don't think zoos are ever going to stop because there's too many animals at risk and they do so much for conservation. So, a good zoo. There are a ton of... Right, yes.
There's kind of a famous TV show about one.
Don't get me started.
So there are some pretty bad zoos out there.
Accredited zoos, yes. Yes. And the zoo is I live in a predominantly African American Latino community, and the zoo is right in the middle. So it's a very important part of the community. It's an economic engine. It gives kids something to do. So it's kind of important for us.
When we were at acting school, which is 30 years ago now, that was in London. We had a particular class, a particular course over the 3 years, which was called Zoo. And what it meant was that as part of their bid to teach us how to become great actors, we had to learn how to be
animals.
And we would go to the zoo in London. Yeah, we go to the zoo in London for the day, and we'd each pick a different species. And some people would be penguins. I mean, we were polar bears. My little group, there were 4 of us. So we decided to study the polar bears. Then we had to be those animals for about 6 hours during a day. And people would walk by as if we were in the zoo. So it was kind of bizarre. It was pretty hard work, and it was pretty hard to keep a straight face sometimes, because obviously your friends would come and be like, throw him a fish. Come on, throw him a fish. No. So it was pretty hectic, but that was something we did. So I've always loved, I mean, I've just loved animals, but I'd see them out in the wild, but I can't afford to do that.
Yeah, yeah. Well, yeah, I've been able to see them in the wild. It's pretty spectacular. There's nothing like the scent of a silverback gorilla in the wild. It's pretty cool. But you know, enough about me. I want to say something to you, which is why I waited, which is, I understand you're going on the cruise next year, assuming that we get to have the cruise.
That is the general idea.
You sound very hesitant.
I am. I mean, I've to be just between you and me, I'm horrified about the idea of a cruise. I am so non-cruise type. I am so not a cruisy kind of guy. And but my dear wife can think of nothing more fabulous, romantic than going on a cruise. And I'm like, okay, we'll go on the cruise. But the idea I'm gonna turn up. Excuse me, in my throat. Nothing to do with zoos. But I've got the idea of being on a boat with the same people every day. I'm just too unsociable for that kind of thing. But now I'm going to do it. I'm going to love it. I know.
Yes, you are. And we'll make you love it. I was on this year's trip, and when your name was announced as going, big cheer went up from the crowd. So you got a lot of people who want to see you.
Well, I am the unicorn actor for cruises. This is going to be a kind of once-off event. I cannot see myself doing it again. But let's see. I mean, they sent me some paperwork the other day saying they'd like to publicize it. Can we get going? This is the moment. And I was like, might be a little tone deaf to be publicizing next year's cruise now.
It's actually almost sold out.
Wow, that's crazy talk.
You know?
That's crazy. That's
so, you know, I'm planning on going. A whole lot of people are planning to go. Well,
I hope
you gotta be good.
I hope we get to go, and I hope that it's okay to go. And I'm just probably not going to publicize it a lot. I'm happy that it's sold out, but I give it a month or two, and then I'll happily publicize it. Yeah. But right now, when we have this thing exploding,
exactly.
Then people will be like, yeah, maybe you should have save this publicity for a couple of months. But it's going to be fun. We'll have a lot of fun. We're going to go. Yes. The West Indies, I believe, the Caribbean.
Tortola in the British Virgin Islands, Nassau, and San Juan, Puerto Rico.
Wow. I've never been to the Caribbean, so I would be completely...
I'm Caribbean. You're going to love it. You're going to love it.
I know I will. I know.
No, I've occupied too much of his time. I'm sorry.
No, you don't have to be sorry. We've occupied exactly the right amount of time. I, by the way, said a big, long anecdote at the beginning of our time, so... That was on me, but yeah. I'm not going to repeat that to everyone I meet. Thank you for getting involved and coming along. And it's such a pleasure to meet you. And you're the first volunteer zookeeper I have ever met.
Yeah, there's not a lot of us. But like I said, when you're in Boston, come by the zoo. We'll introduce you to our very famous animals. We have some that are very spectacular. Look up Little Joe one day on Google. You'll hear about that.
Okay. Well, maybe next year. We hope so, because I don't think this summer's going to be on the cards.
I don't think so.
I don't think so either. Not if tigers are getting COVID. So that just to protect the animals as well as the people. You can easily space out people in a zoo. You just can't space out the animals.
That's right.
Yeah.
Especially during mating season. Yeah.
It's been a real pleasure talking to you.
Take care.
You too.
Yes. Natasha? You are unmuted. There she is.
Hey, hi.
Yes. It is Natasha's birthday, correct?
Oh my goodness. Oh, that's fantastic. Oh, happy birthday, Natasha.
Thank you. I have my husband's off to the side here hiding.
Oh, hi. Hi there. Can we do, this is a tradition. I'm not sure if anybody else has had a birthday this week, but cause last week we had a birthday. And if you think about it, there should be at least two people or one person with a birthday. We've got 39 people tonight, so there might not be. Last week on Friday, it was over 80. With 52 weeks in the year, you'd think, hey, we're going to have 1.5 people at least who have a birthday on. And so if anyone else has a birthday, will they also put their hand up or chat to Mel? Because I would like to take this moment for everybody to unmute. Everybody in the room, unmute, and let's wish happy birthday.
Hey, happy birthday.
Happy birthday.
Happy birthday.
Birthday from us.
Happy birthday.
Happy birthday.
Happy
Happy birthday. Happy birthday.
Happy birthday to you.
Happy birthday to you.
To you.
Happy
Birthday to you.
Natasha.
There you go. Thank you, everyone. Thank you.
You're welcome. I've never had so many birthday wishes in my life.
I know, quite something, isn't it? You're going to get wishes from all over the world, all at the same time. Everybody talking at the same time. I think that's great, guys. Thank you. Right, Natasha, we're back.
Yes.
Where are you? You must be in America.
Canada.
Oh, you're in Canada.
Yeah.
Wow.
Just east of Toronto.
Oh yeah, I'm in
I love
Canada.
Toronto. I think it's, yeah, I love that place. I spent weeks there. Filmed several things there. Getting a slideshow of various Trek images right now. It's kind of cool. And how is life there? Hello, who are you, by the way? I didn't get to say hi to you. Jim?
Tim.
Thank you. One letter wrong. How are you living? You obviously together because you has to be together if you're in the same frame. Have you been? How long have you been locked down?
He's been stuck with me for, what has it been, like 5-6 weeks?
Yes.
Yeah.
That's great. And you weren't stuck with her before that?
No, he's always been stuck with me, but
Okay.
now he's stuck with me.
Okay. That's great. And how is morale in just east of Toronto?
I think it's the same as everywhere else.
Yeah.
Everybody's getting a little anxious. The weather's getting a little bit nicer.
Yeah.
People want to get out, but it's trying to balance that whole idea of doing what's best and trying to not see the really nice warm weather outside. So
yeah. It's not that strict, and it's strict in the sense that you've got to be responsible in Massachusetts, and much of the rest of America it's not strict at all. And I know that the UK is really strict, and Canada is often very similar to the UK in responses politically and stuff. Are you allowed out for just to go and to go to the store or to exercise any amount of times you want a day and stuff like that?
Yep. Yeah. So go out if you need to get groceries, or you need to go get some medication, go for a walk, stretch your legs. But there's a lot of the physical distancing that's going on.
Yeah.
You see a lot more masks and stuff like that. So that's a bit of a change.
Yeah.
But there are the rules, and most people are adhering to them.
Yeah, sure.
That we're not completely locked away like some places in the UK, in Europe.
Yeah, in the UK it's much harsher. Yeah. You may not leave the house for any reason except for vital shopping.
Yeah.
And you can now. I think they're beginning to relax it a bit, but you couldn't just go out and take a run or anything like that. You would have to have a very good reason. So they give you a fine if they caught you and you didn't have the right paperwork or something. Italy too, they have to have paperwork to leave the house. But I think today marked the day when they all left they all got to get out in Italy, which is pretty great.
Yeah.
And I'm hoping that we'll all safely be able to do that too in the next 3 months. Is that too optimistic? I don't think it's going to be shorter than that. But I'm really looking forward to a little bit of normality. I know I'm not going to work again for at least a year. So if I can at least go out when I like and just take a drive around. They opened the national parks. That would be cool.
Yeah.
That's not done. And do you normally work, or is this do you normally not work? I mean, what status are you there? Are you missing the job, or?
So I can work from home. So I've always worked from home. So that wouldn't have been a change for me. Tim does kind of like a split, so 2 weeks in the office, 2 weeks at home. So we're both lucky that we're both, like, our jobs are still there and we're both able to work.
Absolutely. What kind of job is it? Do you mind me asking, Tim, just generally, what kind of job is it that gets you to, that is essential enough that you go into the office for 2 weeks?
IT support.
IT, got it. All right. Wow. You know what?
We support everyone who's working at home, basically.
Yeah, and you keep the whole thing running. This network, basically, but in Canada. Yeah. And okay, and are you self-employed, Natasha?
No, we actually work for the same company.
Oh yeah.
So, but I just
you get to do it from home, and he has to do some hands-on stuff.
Exactly.
Got it.
Yeah.
I'm wondering whether or not there's a way. You guys would be the right people to ask. And this is your professional opinion, and hopefully it isn't like, because my wife gets really upset when she's like meets friends and they're like, "Can you give me some legal advice?" And I'm like, "No, not really. I prefer not to," because she does it for a living. But is there a platform like this, Zoom? I know there's a couple others out there where you can have two people on the screen side by side, and lots of other people, like, in the room as well, but not necessarily but the two people are the sort of center of attention. These are the people with a kind of group listening. So if I had a friend to come on as well, and we sat side by side like you two, but with a split in the middle of the screen, is there any program that does that yet that you've heard of?
I'm not sure. Have you heard of anything that would do something like that?
Because we got a surprise coming up for everybody one day. It's going to take a little while to come, but we need that sort of technology to make it work.
Yeah.
Anyway, if you happen to stumble across some kind of, now it's in your mind.
Yeah.
Will you fire off to Mel and go, yeah, maybe you should try, Facebook Live, or if that does it. I mean, I haven't tried anything. Mel introduced me to Zoom. I had never tried Zoom. I haven't got a Twitter account or a Facebook account or an Insta, anything. So this is it. This is my social media.
Yeah, we use a couple of different tools, or we're aware of them, but they're very similar to Zoom.
Yeah.
I mean, we can maybe do some polling at work and find out if anybody's aware of anything. That
would be great. If it just comes to you, don't go out of your way, and certainly don't spend time on it. But if it just goes, oh, absolutely. Yeah, you could probably try that. That would be fabulous. And anyone else out there who's IT professional, or not even a professional enthusiast, who has a good idea about that would be fascinating, because I'm having trouble finding a way to get a solid twosome on the screen and the rest of the run. So that's the challenge. That's brilliant. Okay. So what are your favorite things to eat during COVID time?
Oh.
Do you have like a list of things that you always come back to?
For me, it's been anything chocolate or sweet related.
Okay.
So between making like chocolate chip cookies and fudge brownies, and it seems to be a lot of that kind of stuff for me.
Absolutely. Are you finding flour?
I managed to find a big bag of flour, so I was lucky. I still can't find any yeast, so I can't make any bread or bread that requires it.
Yeah. So you're making soda bread?
It's the strangest thing. Like, the shelves are pretty much empty.
Yeah.
You might get lucky and there might be like a couple bags of flour left. But it's crazy the amount.
Have you tried making your own sourdough starter?
I have like 2 recipes for it, and it just seems like so much work. It
is, but it's yeast. I mean, it is natural yeast. So you bypass the need for yeast. I've got some in my fridge, and if you make it with rye flour, it's very hardy. It hangs up. It require as much attention as wheat flour, and it does take work. You've got to build it, feed it some flour. It's basically the most simple thing. Just water and flour, and you let it ferment, and then it gets hungry, and you feed it flour again. But if you do it in the fridge, it's much longer periods between feedings, so you're not forever having to think about doing it. So you can do it once a week, and if you do it for at least 2 weeks, you will start to get a usable fermented sourdough starter. And sourdough is one of the best breads. So and
that's our favorite.
Ah, well, then you can make it, and you'll fail hundreds of times, and it's fine because you don't run out of yeast. You will obviously run out of flour. You've got to be careful because flour is pretty expensive and hard to find. Yeah. But it's one of those things that you will bypass the whole yeast problem. I would give it a try.
I think Tim just offered to try.
Boom! Thank you, Tim. That's great. Great, because you can order a bag of rye flour online. I'm pretty sure no one's buying that up because it's too weird. And I paid, I don't know what it was. I think it was about $6 for a bag like this. And that will last you 2 months of feeding. And obviously you make a jar the size of a Coke can, and you fill it like to a fifth of the way up the jar, and you watch it grow as it gets bubbles in it, aerates to the top of the jar, and it's really feeding and enjoying life. And when it gets that kind of energy happening, after a minimum of 2 weeks feeding, you've got to feed it for 2 weeks, you can start making bread with it, and it's pretty amazing. And my loaves are pretty terrible because I still haven't figured it out yet. It's really hard. It's really hard. It's really hard getting the heat right. But in summer, you're picking the perfect time, spring, summer, because it's just warm. I started doing it in December, and it was just too cold. And even in the house, it's too cold. People say, put it in the oven and stuff. And it's like, with the light on this. So you'll have a perfect temperature for sort of ambient temperature in the house in spring and summer to get really good bread. And you can make your own sourdough as and when the flour presents itself.
Well, we do our gardening, so that's usually like our spring summer kind of activity.
Do you have a garden?
Like our little seedlings that we have them growing in the house.
Oh, that's fantastic.
Like tomatoes and eggplants and stuff like that. So I can do that, and Tim will take care of the bread.
That's great. That's brilliant. And because gardening is really hard well, it is hard in Massachusetts, and it's bound to be hard in Canada, mainly because of the fact that the growing season is so short.
Yeah.
Yep.
So you want to get fruit out to get sweet. You got to really trick it into coming to life.
Yeah. We start doing our seedlings in March,
right?
And so they're growing upstairs on the window of one of our bedrooms, and then hopefully in May, fingers crossed, it'll be somewhat warmer towards the end of the month, and we can actually get them into the ground. So.
Wow. Okay, that's great. Yeah, and you can get them literally into the ground because up until then it's just frozen solid.
Yeah.
I kind of panicked about the whole country running out of food about 4 weeks ago. I think it was an unnecessary panic, by the way. I'm pretty sure we weren't. But I bought grow lights and 4 seed trays and hydroponic fluid.
Oh wow!
So I can do my own. So what you do is you get screens on windows to stop mosquitoes coming in. You buy a roll of that, wherever, and then you cut that out and you put that on a mesh inside the seed tray and put the water below it, which has got a hydroponic solution, a kind of nutrient-based solution. And I bought tons of seeds. They sell lots of these seeds for just to sprouting seeds, because those delicious sprouting seed salads, it's just sprouts.
Yep.
They're like 16 different types they sent me. And it cost me about $150, including the light and the hydroponic and all the seeds. And I've got enough to last me 2 years. It's just ridiculous. I don't know if I'll ever get around to getting it done, but I know that what I like about it is that from the minute I plant those seeds, I can eat them in literally 2 weeks. So it's such a quick turnaround. and I can give them to people if we run out of letters, which I do not think is going to happen. I'm being kind of eccentric tonight. I'm speaking about sourdough and seeds, but I do love the fact that you have you're keen gardeners. My mother was a gardener. Did you have have I stopped speaking? Is it me who's frozen?
Nope, I think they froze.
Okay.
Yeah,
They fell asleep with their eyes open. They fell asleep with their eyes open, is what happened.
It looks like they got disconnected, so.
Okay, well, we'll get back to
Right.
Let's move to somebody else and we'll say sorry later.
Yeah.
But at least we've got to say happy birthday, Natasha.
Yeah. To someone from Canada this time.
Yeah.
Okay, Val, you're up next. We're gonna unmute. There we go. There's Val.
Hello.
Hey, Val.
Hi, Sid.
Hi.
So for the getting two people face to face on Zoom,
Yeah.
you can kind of do it as long as everybody in the chat cooperates. So everybody, you have the two people that you want on the camera. Everybody has to go to gallery view, and then everybody has to turn off their cameras.
Right.
And change the
And you'll
setting.
just get two people.
Well, yeah, they changed the setting to be hide all non-video participants. And then it will just be that my school just did their spring play like this. Everybody did their play separate in their homes, and they had it set up so the audience could watch, but only the students were on the screen.
How did
and
it
then
work?
they could pop in and out. It was brilliant. It was very smooth.
What's it called again?
It's just on Zoom. It's this program.
Oh, it's this program. Great. Yeah. Okay, we'll look into that.
So tell me the steps again, if you would.
I'll email you.
Okay, thank you.
But it is possible.
Thank you.
I just baked sourdough bread today and wanted to show it to you.
Oh my goodness, you're a talented human being. Wow, it looks delicious.
It's actually bread-like.
That is bread-like. Well done. That's fantastic. Yeah, if there's no yeast, that's where you go. That's how you do it. And I'm told that yeast is really precious at the moment.
There was, so I teach physics, and so I spend a lot of time around science nerds, and there is no shortage of yeast. That does not exist in the world. Yeast is everywhere all the time, always.
Hence the sourdough starter.
You can, if you put grapes into your flour, there's a little extra yeast on that. Same with raisins.
Way of doing it.
Most fruits have some natural yeast on the outsides. It's not the quick start yeast, that's special magical yeast that does it like this, but yeah, there is no shortage of actual wild yeast in the world.
Yeah, that's good to know. It means we aren't running out of it. We're running out of the dry, quick yeast, the fancy yeast. We want to make a quick thing, but I totally agree. What's your field in physics?
I don't really have a field in physics. I studied engineering. I've worked on telescopes at the South Pole. Wow. But mostly I'm a teacher. That's my job.
My goodness, and you're teaching physics, but you're an engineer.
Yeah.
And you worked at the South Pole.
Mm-hmm.
How long were you there for?
6 weeks.
That is a long time.
I was actually...
No, finish.
I was going to say I was less isolated at the South Pole than I am now.
Yes, okay, it's true. It's true. I can imagine you had at least 4 or 5 people you would see regularly. Was it
about 150?
Oh my goodness. Is that part of a big expedition or just part of a unit that is always there? Because I know the Americans have a strong presence there.
The base at South Pole is there all the time,
right.
Amundsen Scott Base, and I was there with a team from Stanford.
Wow. And is that where you're teaching?
No, I teach high school.
Oh, okay. Yeah, then it's amazing how many amazing teachers we have. And physics is completely beyond me, of course. I mean, I'm really excited by it, though, which is weird. It's one of the things as I get older, the more excited I am about physics. I just don't know any math, so that's a real problem.
The nice thing is I teach physics to 9th graders, so they don't really have to know a lot of math. It's all about ideas and making connections and relationships. And if I change this, how does it change that? And what happens when you put a lens in front of this and project it onto the screen? How does... Yeah. I get really excited about this. I apologize, but it's very, very exciting.
That's what we want. We want the excitement about physics. I've been reading about quantum and a little bit of Feynman and all those things, but I just was amazed because there was a TV show on the BBC, and I'm not sure if you can get it on YouTube. And if you can, I recommend everyone read it. I mean, watch it. And it's called Which Universe Are We In? And it was about did you ever see it? Did you ever get to see that? But, the parallel universe theory, which has got actually quite a lot of pretty high class people saying there's something to it. And not proven in any way, but just saying, well, why not? The theory of probability probably suggests there may be more than one universe, especially if something happened at the black hole, which created another universe and another universe and another universe. And blah, blah, blah. Anyway, I went down the rabbit hole on that a bit, and Feynman obviously was kind of interested in that, and also the entanglement of electrons and things like that, which two electrons, millions of infinite space apart, can empathize with each other, can
Spooky
mimic.
action at a distance.
Spooky physics, exactly. And so there's a lot of good minds have come up. Feynman is my wife's like hero, but I'm totally excited by it. Well, do you teach them practical stuff like making stuff blow up? I mean, obviously not blow up.
That is not practical for 14-year-olds.
This vest.
The unit that we usually end the year with is electricity, where we teach them how to build circuits, how to make their own switches, what is required to make light bulbs light up. And that is significantly harder when I don't have them in my space
Absolutely.
where they can touch things.
Yes. How can they get excited if they can't touch it?
It's very hard. That my colleagues and I are working on that all the time, trying to figure out how to make it exciting. And online simulations just don't cut it. It's just, there's nothing like making your first light bulb light up in real life.
Can you do something? I mean, because I've seen people light a bulb using a potato, for example.
Mm-hmm.
Can you again send a shopping list out to mom saying, everybody get a potato this week, and the school send out little bits of strips of copper or whatever it is they need to send out, the rest of the stuff, a little teeny bulb, so you can all do it at the same time on Zoom?
That would be amazing. I don't know if we can require our families to go buy things, because we want to be cognizant of everybody's financial situation during the lockdown, of not knowing if we can.
Maybe not even buy a potato specifically, because a potato is just a potato. Everyone's probably
Right.
got one in the cupboard. Just go grab a potato, and if you can't afford one, I'm really sorry. But that's a possibility. I mean, you could try thinking, coming up with ideas that you could all do together that don't cost too much money.
We're just this week getting into circuits, so we may be asking them to find batteries around their houses and flashlight bulbs and things like that.
That's very cool. And do their moms and dads or parents, one parent at least, have to be there, or they're alone?
Some of them are alone. Some of them are in a family room. It just depends on which kids are where. Some of them have multiple siblings at the same school, so they're trying not to have cross channeling of classes.
And do they like it? Are they enjoying it?
It's hit or miss. Some of the kids that really struggled with in-class teaching are super thriving, because they can work at their own pace. They can have their own accommodations. They can get up and take a walk. They don't have to sit down, shut up, and do what they're told for 70 minutes.
And also there's a whole group of subset of kids who have real social pressure. And they're completely released of that, need to succeed in front of people, in front of an audience, which is tough at school.
Yeah, so there's a lot of kids that are really thriving. And then there's the kids who are not, that if you aren't there to kind of grab them by the scruff of the neck and shake them around a little bit, they don't do anything.
Yeah.
And the hardest part is I haven't seen them since March 13th, and they're my babies, and I love them, and I haven't seen them. And that's the hardest part of this whole thing is not seeing my babies.
And when do they finish this year, this semester?
End of May.
Okay. So when I hear
some states,
sorry to interrupt you, when I hear that some states have been school has been cancelled for the rest of the year, what do they mean by that? If you can be online?
Well, it's also an equity issue. I work at a private school in San Francisco, California. So we know that all of our students have, and it's a one-to-one device school. All the students have a computer. All the students have internet. So we know that about our students. But in, rural areas like Pescadero or areas out in the middle of California, Central Valley, not everybody has a computer. Not everybody has access to high-speed internet. If their parents are working from home, they can't spare the bandwidth. So for a lot of places where there are massive equity issues, it's literally illegal to hold school where you can't serve all the students.
Absolutely. And are you feeling as a do you get the sense that as a group in the Bay Area that you kind of conquering this virus? Because that's the news coming out of
We are flattening the curve. Like, I just don't leave my house. I stay home and I teach. And my husband goes to Costco about every 10 days. And he brought
He
me
goes to
home
Costco. That's
Yep.
ballsy. That's ballsy.
he
I have
brought
been
me back.
forbidden to go to Costco. I'm not allowed to go to Costco. It's just too many random people at Costco. I'm allowed to
Most
go
of
to
the
the
people
local
here
grocery store.
behaving
but
pretty
not
well.
Costco. Yeah. And they've got everything. I know.
Well, they don't have toilet paper, they don't have eggs, and they don't have wheat flour or white flour. So I have 25 pounds of whole wheat flour now.
Oh,
We're
better
down
for
to
you.
our last 5 rolls of toilet paper, which is going to be an adventure.
Yeah.
And
You've got enough time, I think, to actually order that online.
I think we'll survive.
If you do it now, it takes about 6 weeks to arrive. But if you do it now, you will get it.
Okay,
But have you
good to
tried
know.
Walmart? I don't want to plug companies, but this is just practical good advice. Because Walmart, if you go there early in the morning, I mean, I think you're going to have to wait till 9:30 or whatever your local area when it opens up. But the thing that is about Walmart and those kind of stores is that their suppliers cannot afford to miss a supply, a weekly supply to them, because they are such a huge contract that if they just go, we haven't got it, they have to prioritize Walmart. So you walk into Walmart, the last time I walked into Walmart around here, they had Clorox wipes, they had disinfectant spray, they had lavatory paper falling out of the sky, they had everything. And that's because they're such an important client for their suppliers. So they have so much power. So whatever you think politically of Walmart, but I don't have a political opinion of Walmart yet. I haven't been here long enough, but I'm sure people do have an opinion. If you're desperate for lavatory paper, just go there 4 days in a row, early. If it's not there, get the hell out. Don't risk hanging out with people just to see this.
Any port in a storm.
Yeah, any port in a storm. I found some weird things in weird places. I couldn't find bleach anywhere because I want to make my own disinfectant wipes. And you just need bleach. And I just couldn't find it anywhere. Then I went to my hardware store, which was open. And lo and behold, they had bleach.
I found bleach at the Dollar Tree. Then they're open because they have groceries.
Of course. There is a Dollar Tree nearby. I've never thought to go in it. That's a really good point. Okay. Anyway, they're good tips for those people out there who are really looking for stuff. I know that other people like Poppy in China, wherever you are, completely got it in control of this thing and you're fine. But we're still having a few problems here in the States.
Yes, we are.
So what do you, I'm asking people what they like to cook, because I think we're all going to want ideas at certain points. Is there something that you look forward to that you can make? Have you obviously seen your sourdough, which is a triumph?
I call them the twins of the collective because I've named my sourdough starter The Collective. And my first child of the collective worked out okay, but I think the twins
really
are
good effort.
a little better.
It's really good effort.
Last night I made pan-fried hamburger steaks. I'm from rural Oklahoma, and so that was something that my grandma made a whole lot when we were growing up, which is basically you take hamburger, you squish it into a patty, you bread it, and you pan-fry it, and then you make gravy out of whatever's left in the pan afterwards. And it was very delicious.
Like a meatloaf. I mean, I completely get that. That is a great idea. Okay, there's an idea for people if they want to, they can find beef.
Costco.
Costco. Now they're limiting everyone to just one thing of meat each. I just read it on the thing. I do go to Costco. I just won't go now because it's just, every restaurant, because the restaurants are shut, it's a bit safer. But before, you just had every Tom, Dick, and Harry coming to stock up from all over. At least when you're at the local grocery, you kind of get to know those people. They're just the local catchment area. And if you're fine in your area-ish, then you might be fine in the grocery store. I can't afford to take any risks because my wife will not will not be kept away from her mom. Right. So if I look even remotely risky, she won't see me anymore. So I've got to be squeaky clean and perfect, which we try and do, except we both had to go to 2 emergency wards yesterday, which is absolutely my idea of hell.
I'm so sorry to hear about your puppy and your wife, but I'm glad they're okay.
Thank you. Well, all's well that ends well. And I'm sure it's going to end well. I mean, my wife's totally game. She's just listening like that. Got a huge thing on her lip. And she can't eat food because it falls right out. So we've got to be really careful. She can. She has to have soup, lots of soup. And the dog's kind of, you know, she's like, well, I guess this is just my life now. And she just sits there and tries to deal. And she's doing fine. She's doing fine.
I'm glad.
Thank you. I'm doing a lot more talking than you. That's not the way it's supposed to be.
That's okay. I do have a question though.
Good.
So I know that you were in Merlin.
Yeah. One episode.
One episode. What was it like going from thousands of years in the future to being thousands of years in the past? And from being like technobabble to riding a horse and rearing on the horse and beating people on the horse? And
that was fun.
How was that?
It was fun. I didn't really know Merlin, the show, very well. But I began to get to know it. Once you're in something, you kind of go, oh, that's Merlin. That's the show I did. And almost there again. And it's a huge hit. Oh my God, I didn't know that. And it was fun. I mean, I played this really ridiculously over-the-top character.
Pain in the Warlord, yeah. We know.
Yeah.
I know.
I can't remember what his name was. But I did say some pretty difficult to say lines. It was sort of, you know, roaring a lot. And you shall not make it. I shall see you flayed alive for that. You know, those sort of things. Really rich lines.
Mm-hmm.
But I had a good time. I really enjoy riding when I get to ride on in shows, in movies and TV shows and things. So it's always lovely to work those horses. And I've been doing it since I was about 8. So I'm really happy to do those shows. It was very easy, so you don't have to research a lot for that stuff. They don't need any deep background. So you basically just turn up and do your job and get the hell out of Dodge. Really good is the answer. Enjoyed it.
That sounds super fun.
Thank you. Well, I'm very happy to have met my first physicist so far on this social club meeting, whatever we call it. I don't know, social club. Thank you very much for turning up. And I'm sorry not to have met your husband, but maybe next time.
Maybe next time. Thank you so much. I've been a fan since, oh God, going on like 25 years. So wow. This has been wonderful to be able to virtually hang out.
Thank you. Thank you. For me too. And we'll be able to do it again. I think we'll, you know, I don't think this is all stopping like everyone thinks it is in the next couple of weeks. Not everyone thinks it is. Everyone knows it isn't. But some people think it is basically what I was should have said. So,
well, I don't know if I'll get to talk to you again, since I want to make sure that there's plenty of Sid to go around. But thank you very much. It's been delightful.
Until next time.
Bye.
Bye. Ciao.
Okay. We have Karen and Jay, I see, are here. There we go.
Hey, Jay. Hi, Karen.
Hey there.
Hi.
How's it going?
Very good indeed, thank you. Very good indeed. Where are you? Looks like you're in an office.
We're at our house. We're in San Diego.
We're just in part of the house that works like an office. So
yeah, of course. I now understand. You've got a dining table there with boxes on because it double tasks. You got it going on. That's great. That's awesome. Brilliant. Well, I'm in my office. And I never really show very much of it, but there's not really much to see. It's a rental. I haven't done anything with the place. So how are you guys?
Good. I'm going a little stir crazy, but I'm doing good. I'm a medical student. So, and it's interesting because I'm 4th year medical student, but they're not letting us doing rotations right now. So we just have online stuff to do. So
tell me what that means by rotations. Oh, going towards.
So last 2 years of medical school, you go
absolutely. You get some practical, you get some hands-on experience, and a lot of students everywhere else are absolutely going on to rotation. What is there a reason for that?
It's just health-wise, they're just saying basically all in the United States, they've stopped letting the medical students going to rotations, and they're, I guess, because
Does that bother you, or are you relieved?
Both.
Yeah, I was gonna say I'm relieved.
He's relieved.
Right.
I like it. It's troublesome for the experience because you want to have that experience to go in. I'm supposed to so May of next year I'll graduate and start residency.
Yeah.
And I'll need that kind of experience to kind of go. But also, like, it's just crazy, and
But you feel like you're just sitting on your hands when you could be out there doing something?
Yeah, exactly.
Absolutely. You've got actual clinical knowledge, which is what you need. Because believe me, you're in almost the same boat as every other actual qualified doctor out there and nurse, in the sense that they don't know what the hell's happening. They don't know what this disease is. They don't know how to treat it. They don't know whether it's treatable today or tomorrow, or why it's different in every patient they meet. It's the same virus, but COVID-19 is a different disease in almost everybody, which is mind-blowing.
Yeah.
Absolutely. And so do you find a way to work on it in some way, like via internet? Do you discuss it with your colleagues?
So they just have us on online coursework, and then we have like weekly meetings with our school throughout this thing because they don't know when we're going to be able to go back to rotations. And we're all kind of all my comrades are kind of freaking out because we're supposed to be like applying to residency like pretty soon, and we have like no way to do that. No way to like do how is the interviews going to happen? How is we're supposed to do audition rotations, which is where you go to the place you want to do residency for a month and like show your stuff, and you can't do that. So.
Yeah. Wow, that must be incredibly frustrating, especially as this is such a long haul, this particular education. You've already invested 4 years, you've got a year and a half left to go. And then you're going to be tested every year for the rest of your life anyway, on something, some speciality, some aspect of whatever it is you want to do. So that's tough. That must be very, very difficult. And I suspect there's probably something really simple, like there just simply isn't the PPE to risk you guys. They simply haven't got the protective equipment to give to the actual clinicians and the physicians and to you. So you might be the ones who lose out and don't get the protection you deserve because you're going to be in contact with everybody, even if you're just metaphorically just washing the dishes, bussing the tables.
Yeah.
But it would be phenomenal experience. A novel virus, most doctors in their careers see 100 new conditions in their whole lives, 100 patients with a new condition in their whole lives. Mm-hmm. People are seeing thousands of them right now, and no one knows what's going on. Mm-hmm. But I think you're entering one of the most extraordinary fields. I can't tell you for sure because I just play a doctor on TV, but it's something I take an interest in, obviously. And I just wish you well. You're not Jay. You're not a doctor, right? You're not.
No. I'm a rocket scientist.
Okay. All right. So that's really funny. Wow, that's going great guns too right now. That's doing a whole different thing. I just about to send another person to the moon, I'd read the other day, so that's all new.
Part of my company is one of the ones that was selected, and I know people back east that are working on part of the landing system for.
Wow.
Yeah.
What astonishing thing! And so, is that nearby where you are? Is there some sort of facility there that you work at?
I actually telecommute. I do work all over the country, and so up until all this foolishness, I would be as likely as she would be to be on travel, to go to site and work on site and consult with other engineers.
What fantastic work you both do! And tell me what facet of this engineering, this science are you doing?
I do a lot of what's called model-based systems engineering. So we do a lot of computer modeling to make the processes more effective, to make the rockets or make anything happen faster and cheaper, and hopefully better as well.
Absolutely.
There's a big push in industry to be more effective. And so we do a lot of stuff in the computers earlier now.
Yeah. I mean, for those who don't know, that is basically, and tell me if I'm wrong, from a layman's point of view, that is basically, you do everything that space travel involves, and then people get into a tin can and follow the route you've just mapped out painstakingly using various models of probability and
Yes.
My golly, because that's just, hasn't it? Someone just missed. Something happened recently. I think that, I'm not sure which country, but they just got some of the modeling slightly wrong, and they couldn't make it back in that. I think I might be mixing up my movie with real life.
But those kind of things legitimately happen. It is, in fact, like our company also supports the International Space Station, and we do intensive modeling before, during, and after missions. So before a plan, during to adjust, because no plan survives contact with the enemy, right? And then afterwards to make sure that we can improve our models and do better the next time. So,
and do you corroborate with other nations? I mean, obviously you have an awful lot of secrets that you must keep, because I'm sure you're all tangled up with defense and all sorts of nonsense.
I can neither confirm nor deny.
I wouldn't agree. I'm not in Section 31, so
that's what you say. That's what you say.
Yeah, but do you do international collaboration? Obviously, with people who are interested, like the Chinese and the Indians and the Europeans. Everybody's trying to get jiggy with all this right now.
Yeah. I don't tend to work in that. I tend to work more in the stuff that stays stateside, personally.
Right. Okay.
But our business is international. And when we launch payloads on our commercial satellite, our commercial launch vehicles, there is likely to be for friendly nations as they are to be US.
Yeah. Okay, that makes sense. And how excited are you by this long range travel that we've done, that we've gone beyond, just explored the ripple beyond our solar system?
It has been too long in coming to get out past low Earth orbit again.
Right. Yeah. And do you think we're going to catch up, or do you think, because I know that NASA funds, or at least employs, most people in this business, except now there are some new kids on the block. But do you think that this is drastically underfunded, because it has been since never? But then there are other people who say it shouldn't happen in the first place. I'm not sure the politics.
Yeah, no. I think the 60s was a special moment where Kennedy pulled the future into the middle of the century, and then we snapped back to reality. And we're probably still several decades away from catching back up to what those visions wanted to be.
Yeah.
And yes, would I have rather we kept spending like that so that my career was
even
more
better.
like Apollo?
Yeah.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
We were woefully shortchanged by shuttle. And that was about the way it was funded. That's not the engineer's fault. That's the decision maker's fault.
Right.
And then we've had almost 9 years since America's been able to put people in space on its own. SpaceX is a competitor, but they're about to be the first to put humans back in space from an American launch vehicle on an American site in almost a decade. So,
amazing.
Godspeed, clear skies, and all that. That mission needs to work.
I like the rest of the country, like the rest of the world, when the SpaceX experiments were happening, when the trials were happening, and those rockets came on back and landed on a small.
The heavy launch where they had the two lands side by side was absolutely beautiful. It was quite literally out of science fiction.
Blew my mind, and to dream that up and then do it. And in about 5 minutes, these guys haven't been around very long.
No, it's amazing what they've accomplished in such a short period of time.
Yeah. Well, I hope it goes from strength to strength, and I hope you fix everything for the whole world, because what you learn trickles down to us lot, some way, somehow. We figure out how to get more efficient sandwiches. It's logistics. At the end of the day, it's just logistics.
I think one of the things, solar power is a thing that is very much a product of space age. right? We have to rely on solar power on orbit. It's one of the only things we have available. And so that is absolutely a trickle down. And it is ever so slowly changing the power grid.
I hope so.
Yeah.
I hope so. The sooner the better.
Yeah. Amen.
The sooner the better. I mean, I'm not an environmental Nazi. I know people have to make a living, but my goodness, it's all hurrying pretty helter-skelter towards something not good. We're told by people who are supposed to know these things, and we're supposed to believe. So I would like to see solar power come. And what do you think is the future of hospitals?
I hope that it is a hard, long look at the policy of scarcity, and we get away from scarcity mindset. That a lot of our challenges right now are because we over-optimize that system, speaking as an engineer who over-optimizes systems because it's the only way to make it work at all. And we had it optimized within an inch of its life. And that's great as long as no inputs change.
Yeah.
Right? And an input change in a very dramatic way. And it's not okay.
I mean, this is really a question to both of you. Do you think that, because Aaron Eisenberg died, the other day, and Renee also died, but Aaron and Renee, they're both medical and they're both catastrophic. But Aaron died after having, he had terrible kidneys. I mean, didn't have the best success in terms of kidney allotment when he kicked off his life. And he was thrown a kind of curveball on that front. And there came a time about 4 or 5 years ago, it may even been sooner than that, where, I mean, he knew much more than we did. I mean, he was just jokey Aaron, and he'd come along, hit you on the ass and walk on by and pretend he didn't. He'd tap you on the shoulder and be like, and then he'd be like, that kind of guy. And he was great. But I remember getting a letter one day from his wife, I think, and saying that he was in trouble and he needed a kidney replacement. And he was asking the public and anyone who would listen if they would give $20 because it was so expensive to get this kidney. Now, I don't know. I mean, I know this veers into political territory. I'm not really interested in politics, to be honest. Well, I am very interested, but I'm not interested in this room to talk about politics. But there must be a way of sending some people to the moon, as you kind of do, Jay, and kind of why I asked about hospitals, and making sure that people like Aaron, who need a kidney, don't have to go fund me for it, And I don't care about Bernie, and I don't care about all that stuff. But it just seems as though there isn't the will to help everybody who needs that kind of critical intervention. Sure, if you smoke all your life and you get lung cancer, then you better have some insurance, or, but these people have started life like this, and people who just began with bum kidneys or terrible, some kind of clinical problem that is really acute. Do you think that's on the cards? Are we ever going to be able to do that? Do you think the people in America would like to help people like Aaron and go, sure, I'll give an extra 20 cents a week, and that will fix everybody? Or do you think not?
I hope so.
Yeah.
A lot of changes need to happen.
Yeah. I mean, I grew up in Great Britain where we have free healthcare, but it is crippling us. It is so very expensive. But I looked into, I don't remember the figures now, but I looked into it. We don't actually pay all that much per head, but it is still a fortune. And I'm sure that with your solar panels and, everybody's minds, and Tesla landing rockets back on a dice and doing beautiful things with everything else, we can figure out a way to get Aaron. People like Aaron don't leave us too early. Anyway, that's a bummer. I didn't mean to bring the tone down, but it was because the combination of both of you is just too perfect an opportunity not to miss, because you both represent the two sides of things that really help us progress. And you're about to head into this brave new world, and I'm sure you're obviously impatient, and this is incredibly nerve-wracking to see such catastrophic event happening as soon as you start. But you're young, and you both are, but you there isn't a person on earth alive today who's seen a more catastrophic event. This is the biggest thing that's happened to everybody.
It's literally a once in a century event.
Yeah.
I mean, this is one of those things that you see once a century. It's strange to me that it happened so close to being a century since the last time we got one of these. Like, it usually don't have the stats line up like that so pretty, but it's that kind of event, and we came up short on the dice.
Yeah, we probably have everywhere, really.
Oh yeah, it caught everyone. I mean, just look at the numbers, right? Just look at the worldwide numbers.
Well, I'm just saying people should prepare. This does include everyone, even the youngsters. This might be going on for quite a while. Some form of what we're doing now might be going on for quite a while. Then maybe a lot of pressure to go, we got to get back to business, and we got to do this, but no one's about to get on a plane anytime soon. Not
the virus
normal,
doesn't care.
Normal
the virus
people
doesn't care what we want.
Right.
Right? It doesn't care. It's not going to pay attention.
Yeah, it doesn't.
It doesn't
I believe.
Yeah.
And the truth, I think, whatever some people might be saying, is that we cannot possibly get a vaccine this year, and we need to be vaccinated. So buy flour, make plans to make bread, learn how to draw, find your favorite recipes and learn how to love being at home.
It's not what anyone wanted, but I mean, that's what we have to do for now.
We have to adapt. Yeah, all the kids have been on the show. You know what kids are brilliant at is adapting. They just turn on a dime and go, oh, this is my life now. Oh, this is my life now. My little dog got beaten to hell yesterday, and she's fine. She's like, oh, this is my life now. And we have to do the same. We haven't got God, gosh darn it, I have been driving this road and eating at this Denny's for 40 years. I'm going to continue doing it. That is not the mindset we need right now. And anyway, it's been a real pleasure to talk to you guys. And please ask me questions. I'm just
real quick, before you go to someone else, we have a little story to tell you.
So
love to hear it.
We saw you. We were in the autograph line at STLV last year, and we had just met at the con. Like
the first night of the convention, we met.
Fantastic! And here you are.
Yeah, and here we are. Well, better yet, you asked us. You made a comment about us being a couple.
Yeah.
Because we were in line together to get autographs, and we went.
And
what?
I was like, we're just friends, and he's like, we just met this week, like what?
He's gross.
No, apparently we had been giving off vibes of being a couple all week, and I was oblivious. I was just like, oh, I'm hanging out with this cool guy here. And so we now live together. We moved in December.
You are the epitome of that moment, though.
Yeah.
Congratulations!
That moment.
I'm honored. I'm privileged.
Yeah.
And congratulations! And you do seem like a couple. So
it just happened, and we never stopped being together since the convention. So there you go.
That's fantastic. Did you both already live in San Diego?
Neither of us lived in San Diego. Actually.
But you both ended up there anyway.
We
made it happen. I was in Oregon. That's where my school is. He was in LA. And before COVID, fourth year, it doesn't matter where your home base is because you're moving around anyways.
Yeah.
So I was just like, I'm just gonna move to San Diego, and he was like, me too, because my work is letting me do. He can go anywhere because he's telecommute. So we're just like, all right, let's do this.
Here we are.
That is such a romantic story, guys. That's fantastic. Love that. Really love that. That's really cool. That's brilliant. Well, I wish you many years of bliss. Hanging out
and
together.
Hopefully, if we ever get conventions again, we'll be in line and get another autograph from you.
Well, hopefully, absolutely. But I mean, I'm beginning to like this more than conventions. This is how to do it,
It is very cool. It is very cool. Mel, thank you. I have to look to where you are on the camera, on the screen, Mel. Thank you. This is very cool. And thank you, Sid.
Yes. Thank you.
My pleasure. My pleasure. You're welcome. It's been as you can see, it's really fascinating for me. So I love it. And we talk to, and you can hear other people, that everybody's got such amazing things to say, and they just don't realize it most of the time. I mean, you do. You said rocket scientist. So you got me. And you were right.
Telling people that I'm dating a rocket scientist.
Yeah, of course. It's great. I love it. I think you're both terrific. And
Thank you very much.
hopefully you come on back at some point.
Absolutely.
See what else is happening. Because I'd love to talk more about both of your things that you are doing.
Wouldn't miss it. I always enjoyed you on Deep Space Nine. I'll admit I'm more of a Trekkie than a general audience, and so I really know you mostly from there. But I just love Bashir on the show, and absolutely will be back.
Thank you. Good.
And
you're welcome.
I'm jealous of the aliens that Bashir would rescue on a one-hour-long episode.
Absolutely.
Right now, really, if you could just bring the runabout here and fix this, I'd appreciate
it. I know. The later Bashir, not the early Bashir.
Yes, the later Bashir.
The early Bashir were like, what does this button do?
We just rewatched the pilot last night, and I'd forgotten just how that way he was.
He was like a puppy. He was absolutely like a puppy. Well, it's lovely to meet you both. And
See you next
talk to someone else. I think I've got enough time to squeeze in one person, Mel.
We are, but actually we're going to squeeze in two people. We're going to squeeze in.
Right, lovely meeting you guys. See you again.
Is that the coolest story? Oh my gosh. Who knew you were matchmaking in line?
I didn't mean to. I just noticed they were matched.
Oh, I think you did a great job. I think they would approve. Okay, we are going to go to Susan and Alex, who are somewhere. There we go. I unmuted you guys.
Yeah, we're in Massachusetts as well.
Hi, guys.
Hi, neighbor.
Hi, how are you doing?
Really good. I also was a Deep Space Nine Trekkie. Like, that was outside of the original series. That was my show, and it's really cool that you're having these things.
Thanks, Phil. It's cool for
me. I enjoyed the show because it was a little different.
Yeah, well, that's really enterprising of you, because most people didn't like it because it was different. So that's cool. That was really cool. Thank you. That's great. Whereabouts in Massachusetts are you? Middle, West, East?
We're over in Chelsea.
Oh, okay. I don't know it very well. So when I say, oh, okay, that means I don't know where that is.
Yeah, it's around Everett and Revere. It's
so east.
North of Boston. Just north of Boston.
Northeast. Okay, brilliant. Got it. Yeah, I'm South Central.
Chelsea is like the hardest hit place in pretty much the whole country right now.
Absolutely.
Or it was.
It was. I mean, absolutely. I mean, it was also, right there on the opioid highway. It's been in trouble for a couple of, it's been a long, it's not just this year. It's not just COVID. There's been all kinds of problems hitting up there.
Yeah.
But I'm loving Massachusetts. I really think it's a terrific state.
Yeah.
And I'm really happy that today we got the first bit of good weather in a long time. It's nice and warm. I hope it was up where you guys are.
Yeah, it's warm.
Yeah. And where are you living? Because I see it looks like you've got a poster or a window looking at
background.
It's just a background with a.
Oh, okay, great. Okay, cool. Okay, that makes sense. Like, pretty nice weather out your window back there, and you seem a little close to the water.
Yeah.
We're using the holodeck.
Fantastic. That's actually a really cool feature on this thing, isn't it? You can actually do whatever you want.
It's really fun.
How are you doing with all this COVID nonsense?
Well, you tell your story.
Yeah, I mean, I hope it doesn't sound depressing what I'm saying. I have cerebral palsy in my legs, knees, and feet. And I was born that way. So I was sort of, going through the 70s, 80s, and 90s when it was still, the society was still very prejudicial and loved to use all the labels and stuff.
Yeah.
So in a way, that's, I know it's not the same thing exactly, but I mean, there were so many operations and so many scars that I had on the legs and stuff that, you just have to sit there.
Your life.
Well, no, but you have to sit there and endure and be the best, heal and be the best you can be. And then, of course, you have a plan after, you get out of that. So that's kind of how I'm viewing this in a way.
Right, absolutely. And do
And
you
Alex,
find, yeah?
and Alex has been working with the Chelsea pandemic response team, and I'm trying to do as much as I can with them as well. So he's really super civic and awesome guy here.
Well, you are too.
You're setting a great
in your own
example.
way.
Both of you guys set a great example. Thank you. And do you have trouble getting? How do you get provisions? And because surely you've got to be very careful about where you are and just proximity and stuff like that. So
Well, we've had to go out, unfortunately, to get things because everybody, especially for 4 weeks there, you couldn't get any deliveries or anything like that.
You see, I think that I don't know why you wouldn't be on some high priority list. Because you look at, you look at something like, I was looking at the Costco online shopping thing the other day. No, Amazon online shopping thing the other day. And I looked down the list and everything that you'd imagine that is in short supply. It says reserved for our first responders and healthcare professionals. And I think that's adequate, very good idea. But I think you should be just as important on that list too, because you also need stuff and you also can't get around and you also are incredibly vulnerable.
I mean, luckily in a way, it's very difficult because the disabilities in the legs to go shopping. So luckily I already had some provisions thinking it was a blizzard. Unfortunately, this is a blizzard of another kind.
It's a blizzard of another kind.
But yeah, it's there are some people that are, mentioning about how, tough it is. They didn't really have any plans or infrastructure for if people need deliveries or, what happens if because now, unfortunately, there's a recession now. So what's going to happen to all these people that need, and living in the cities, it's very cutthroat and fast. And now you can't do that because you don't want to be the next domino to fall. So
Absolutely
it's sort
not.
of so it's
Are you in a small town? Is it a small town or a big town?
40,000.
Okay, so that's quite a small town.
City. Yeah, it's a small city. It's not it's not even 3 miles long.
Okay.
It's teeny.
It's teeny.
Yeah.
And have you got anyone else living with you? Is anyone else there to help out?
Just us.
Just us.
And I can help a lot. I only have respiratory issues. I don't have very much physical disability.
Well, only respiratory issues are precisely what this thing attacks.
Yeah, but it's okay. So we help each other.
You be careful, really. I mean, you really have to take good care. That's you both of you have to make sure you're fine. You're going to be okay. And is there something you'd like to I'm getting ideas from everybody today? I mean, I do this kind of all the time, but I want to know what you really look forward to eating. Because we're going to be hanging around for a long time, and some of us are going to get ideas from each other. Tonight we've already had a hamburger fried hamburger situation, hamburger meat.
I guess the thing that I'm looking forward to eating the most is I guess pizza from one of the wonderful Italian restaurants around here.
Oh yeah.
I mean, that's the bomb.
Do you cook?
Yeah, I try.
You know what? I'm gonna try and give you there's a YouTube have a channel. I found a pizza dough recipe. If you've got flour.
Okay.
It's the pizza dough recipe that takes 8 hours, but that sounds like hell.
That's a lot.
But actually, it takes about 10 minutes to make, and then 8 hours of letting it rise under plastic in a bowl to get bigger and bigger. Then you just slice it at the end of the day, and you don't roll it with a rolling pin. You push it with your fingers to push the air out of the middle to the edges of the crust all the way around. So you get this, the air is all in the crust, and it is delicious. And it's a really good pizza dough. I'll figure out how to get this so it's some guy, Louis Vitelli or something, who has a pizza dough channel, and and if you're a pizza fanatic, which I suspect you are, You might like the idea of, well, we have a little time on our hands, learning how to make your own dough.
Yeah, that would be really cool. So I'll look that up.
No problem. Do you have any questions you'd like to ask me?
I just wanted you to talk about Renee and Aaron and in any detail, tell funny stories about them. And
I would. I mean, I can tell funny stories about Aaron and Renee all the time. I mean, they were just two beautiful people. I mean, there isn't enough time in the day. Renee was by far the most, one of them, and just one of the most accomplished person in the cast, you know. He'd been in everything from years going back, yonks, you name it. And he'd been in every stage play. He was like so sophisticated. And yet he had this just really touching sense of humor. And I remember saying to him the last time I saw him, it was something, I mean, I saw him, I'm just trying to remember where it was. I think it might have been England. And I just said, I didn't know where he was on the grade of his struggle with this disease. But I said something like, are you going to beat this son of a bitch? And he said, I don't think so. I don't know. So he knew, but he was still really full of humor. He was ready to laugh. He didn't want to make me feel bad. And he was trying to just make sure that everybody was like Alex right here started the conversation saying, I don't want to be depressing, you know. And that's exactly Renee. You have the same attitude, sir. And it's a beautiful thing, beautiful quality in both of you. And I think that, you know, we all have our crosses to bear. We all have our little miseries, and we just shouldn't spread them around. You know, we should do the opposite. We should make people as happy as possible, however sad we are. And Renee was just a gentleman. And as Chaucer, one of my favorite writers, early writers, started off, one of his poems in the Canterbury Tales, and this particular one is called The Knight's Tale, and it starts off, there was a very perfect, gentle knight. And René Auberjonois was a very perfect, gentle knight. And Aaron was just a pistol, you know. He was always playing practical jokes. He was always wisecracking. And he figured if you could take, you know, what he did to you, if you could take a little ribbing, if you could take a joke, but at your expense, then you were his friend. And he could take it back. He just lived on that edge where he was always making fun. And but he started charities. You know, he started a podcast. I'm sure you've seen it with Ciroc, which I had the pleasure to do yesterday. Was it the day before? So I did Ciroc and Aaron's podcast. And so we talked a lot about Aaron then. So you want to tune into that podcast. And I know that Ciroc is going to come around here one of these days and have coffee with us, metaphorical coffee with us. So at some point, I'm not sure which day it'll be, but in the near future, he'll be swinging around to come and say hi to you guys.
That's brilliant.
It's been a real pleasure talking to you both. And I want you to promise me you are going to look after each other. I know you will.
All right.
But just take extra special care. You know, look both ways before you cross the metaphorical road.
Okay.
All right. Have a great evening, guys. It's 11 o'clock. I am probably going to have to go to bed now. It's been lovely talking to everybody. I look forward to Friday when we'll talk to a whole bunch of people and we'll have fun things to do with everybody.